Hey, what's going on, guys? And welcome back to yet another episode of Weeb Seen It Podcast. This week is episode number 42. As always, I'm Cam.
And I'm Jimmy.
And let's get into the episode, guys. And welcome back, guys. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Jimmy, how are you?
Oh, not too bad. Bit of a busy week, but that's about it.
Bit of a busy week. For, I think, people who have stuck around a while, you'll know that we are both Canadian, and today is actually Canada Day. Yep. So really all that means to us right now is that it's the day that we're both off. So
yeah.
I know this week it's been, normally we used to, for this past season, we've tried to record on normally a Monday, right? Because that's when the last anime comes out.
Normally, yeah. But
this week it's like really late, but at the same time, a lot of the stuff, like we have very little to talk about today because a lot of it is like finales.
Yeah.
And like, because last week was at the finale of basically 86, Vivi.
Correct.
And
86 had another episode, but it was kind of a recap. So.
Yeah, and obviously this week we don't have QotW. As I'm sure I don't need to explain it since everybody watching this has explained it to us. But there were some issues with like the final episode, maybe something to do with the animation, and it's like temporarily delayed till I don't know when.
Yeah, somebody accidentally deleted a bunch of their work, which is why the quality kind of slacked the last few
Yeah,
weeks.
it's kind of weird for us now because I don't know what that means for like, are we just going to be midway through the next season and be like, oh, QotW finale, let's talk about it.
I mean, pretty much, yeah.
That or we just come with like a 30-minute special just talking about the finale. But yeah, normally around this time what we do is we do like an episode, like a vote episode where we read all the synopsises. We probably won't do that this season because A, there's not tons of variation in the options, and then B, we just don't have time. Like a new season starts basically like next week.
True.
But for the next like 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how long like the anime episodes are spread out, we're gonna have the episodes be like really short first episode discussions of like everything. So it won't be like full depth. It'll probably only be like 2 to 5 minutes per anime episode.
Yeah, just a first impressions video, basically.
Yeah, first impressions of all the new like summer anime, and that way after that, like based off what communities come in the most from like Reddits or who's commenting the most, we'll decide what kind of shows to talk about, and obviously shows that we're also hyper interested in.
Yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be a couple that really just kind of we latch onto.
Yeah, so. Because even if there's like one that everybody in the thing like wants us to watch, but it's like we hate it absolutely, we probably won't be able to talk about it, at least not to an extent that people will be satisfied with.
I mean, I can't imagine there being something that we both hate that much
that everyone else loves too. Yeah, I don't know. I doubt it would happen, but if it does, like we do have to pick obviously things we're interested in as well, because that's what makes the conversations more fun. But yeah, this week we have a really short week actually. There's only 4 things we're covering since we don't have the QotW. So it'll be a little bit of a shorter episode. I don't know if you guys like that or not, but it's just what it is. Pretty soon we'll probably getting back to longer episodes with all the new anime starting though. So
yeah, I think the next episode at the very least is gonna be a little beefy. So
yeah, so get used to it while you can. Obviously, before we get into covering the weekly anime, we have to of course go over last week's question of the week. So the question of the week was, what is that anime that you are desperately awaiting a new season announcement for? And then I put mine. So mine was obviously Grimgar of Ash and Fantasy, or Fantasy and Ash. We'll probably never get that. That's what I didn't need people to write the realistic ones on there, just anything they wanted.
Yeah. Every time you say that, it always twists the knife a little bit more.
It was killed by Konosuba. It's same season. Konosuba did excessively well. The same type. It was like an isekai.
Yeah, I think that's why I don't have that good of opinion of Konosuba anymore.
Yeah, it kind of ruined it for me, which is kind of sad, but let's see what other people say. So this person says, this is Sahil Siraj, and they said, although it hasn't ended yet, but I'm really hoping for QotW Season 2 with a better studio. Also, I recently watched Record of Ragnarok, and I'm eagerly awaiting for its Season 2 as well. Obviously, QotW, I think a lot of people actually answered QotW Season 2. Which is, it's not too surprising with our audience. First we'd like to Season 1, the finale.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's not uncommon for things to get announced before the first season's over, so...
Yeah, I do hope that, like that person said, and I think I've mentioned a few comments, I really hope that they find, like, a studio change.
Yeah, because it definitely has the fan base. It just didn't have the studio behind it.
Yeah, they just went way too hard into the CGI at some point. Like,
yeah, and the CGI was being done by a company that doesn't have a very good record, so...
Yeah, so, I mean, that's understandable. I also hope they get a Season 2 and hope they change studios. That's fair. The next person here, Sarthak, says, Bunny Girl Senpai, Noragami, DITF, Vivi, all good shows, but might never get continued. Bunny Girl Senpai, fantastic. I don't know if that's a show that we'll get a second season of.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty definitive in its ending, wasn't it?
I mean, you could change it, though. Like, you could
retcon it.
You could add, yeah, like, I mean, there's stuff to do, but I also wouldn't say so. Noragami, we're supposed to get another season of.
Yeah.
It's just been, like, a long time. It's one of the shows where everyone's like, oh yeah, Noragami's coming at the end of this year, I'm pretty sure. And it never does.
Yeah. I still have to finish the second season.
I loved the show. Like, I watched it because I heard people kept asking for like Season 3. So I like watched the first 2 seasons. I was like, oh man, this is like really good. Yeah, I'm down to watch Season 3 now.
Yeah, I was watching the second season, and we started doing the podcast, and I got bogged down with so many other anime. I ended up just kept putting it off. And
I don't know what DITF is.
DITF.
acronyms off the top of my head sometimes, unless it's like FMA, like.
Yeah, DITF. That sounds really
That's
familiar.
well, the next one after that is Vivi, and I can almost guarantee that we're never going to get a Vivi second season. All good shows though, that's for sure. Like some of them, a lot of them here, like you actually named one other than Origami, like Bunny Girl Senpai and Vivi especially. They are actually shows that stood up on their own. They don't need a second season, which is nice. Doesn't mean that.
Darling in the Franxx.
Oh, okay. No, you're wrong on that one. Sorry. Darling in the Franxx doesn't need a second season. Let's clear that up. Every other show you mentioned, though, really good shows. They stand on their own with one season. They don't need a second season. But like, I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't be opposed to that.
Yeah.
Except for Darling in the Franxx.
I mean, Darling in the Franxx, they might be able to do like a retrain and fix it.
No, there's no. It's too late. It's gone. X Cassius Forte says Saga and the Tanya of Evil.
I do want another season of that, actually.
Is it a Saga of the Tanya the Evil? Okay.
I think it's a little butchered. Tanya and her Saga of Evil.
Okay, that's why I was like, the words didn't come out.
Or maybe it's Saga of Tanya the Evil.
Maybe I mean, that's what he wrote. So I don't know.
I think that
I'm
might
sure
be.
this person
I think
knows
that's
more.
actually. I think it's one of those really clumsy titles.
I've never seen it before, but I know that is season 2 not coming out.
I don't think so. They did a movie, I think.
I thought season 2 was like confirmed for some reason.
They might have. I
Probably
might have
wrong.
just missed it.
I don't follow the anime, so I can't 100% say. But that's nice.
It's probably one of the better isekais I've watched. So
Bold statement. Cheesecake for Not says Kumo obviously, but after this season, I have my doubts we'll ever get one. Season 2 of Grand Blue would be as dope as heck for some. Other than that, I really don't understand how Siren doesn't have an anime adaptation yet. Since we're not really manga guys, I don't know what that is exactly, but
I think I know that one. It does deserve it, but it's gonna be a long time, I think.
yeah. But I mean, I like Grand Blue. I think only watched like 3 or 4 episodes of it. And I just never really got into it.
I think it was just generic fantasy, right?
It was very generic fantasy. I feel like if you got into it, you'd probably like it a lot though. Like there's a lot of like lore stuff in there.
It's that type of thing you dive into where you don't. There's not a lot of middle ground. So
yeah. M says Overlord and Tower of God. Both shows were so great that I wanted to immerse myself in more. Then I read the entire available source material. So just hopefully they give us better 3D goblins this time. If you want to see some bad CGI, look for Overlord Goblin Army.
Yeah.
I watched all of Overlord season 1 and really enjoyed it. And then like as soon I started 2 right after, and I just like stopped it after episode 1. I was just like, I liked season 1. And I'm sure I'll get back into it at some point. Tower of God. Have you still not watched Tower of God?
No.
Oh, well, Tower of God's really good. The ending's like a cliffhanger. Leading into like what I think is a time skip, which will be really cool.
It's a Crunchyroll original, right? So it's definitely going to get a second season. I think they actually confirmed Overlord's getting a 3rd season.
It was like the first Crunchyroll original for Tower of God.
It was, yeah.
I really liked it, so I'm with you on there, Em. I also hope for another season. Weebacrap says, until the recent announcements, I would have said Yojo Senkai or JoJo. I don't know about Yojo Senkai, but we know that JoJo's getting its adaptation. Now it's Konosuba and Overlord. I love both of them enough to read the light novels, and they both have great material ahead. I have mixed feelings about Konosuba. I really enjoyed season 1, but as we just mentioned, it was kind of ruined because it stopped one of the other animes I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, even just watching the second season, I tried it. I just didn't find it funny.
I think I've tried watching the second season 2 times, and it just didn't work out for me. But that might just be that's subjective to humor, because even as we mentioned, like when we started this season, like the combatants will not be dispatched. Neither of us enjoyed. But I've seen a lot of people write like, "Hey, like that show is actually really funny," but it just wasn't us. And
it might get better as it goes, or it might just be a very specific type.
I mean,
of humor.
humor is so subjective. Like, there's so many different types. It's hard just to say. But yeah, same thing with I think you said Overlord as well. One day I'll catch up on Overlord. I finished season 1, started episode number 1 of season 2, and then just dropped it. But one day. Robo Jojo says Dorohedoro, Batum, Blood Lad, and Land of the Lustrous. I have not watched a single one of those.
I don't think, Blood Lad had an anime, but you read the manga for that one, didn't you?
I did, yeah. Like I read the first like 3 really thick volumes.
Yeah, I think it's like a quarter or like
that's probably
3/4 of the series.
Yeah.
So.
Dorohedoro, I heard nothing but good things about it and just never watched it. I don't even know what Land of the Lustrous is.
It's one of the. Is that the one with like the people are gems? It's like Steven Universe, the anime.
I mean, maybe. It sounds like that could be it. It sounds like a Tarek from like a League of Legends kind of thing.
Yeah, I might be completely off base with this, but...
The next person, so Noob at Redstone, of course, says Kumodesu 2 season, so second season. Not too surprising. Yeah. Straight to the point. He wants the second season now. What did I was going to respond next. Direwolf TEG says, "So I'm a spider, so what? Episode 24 postponed due to production. Thanks for sneaking in there. It's not about the question of the week, but I think that was actually the first place I saw it. A lot of people posted in the comments, but I was like,
I think he just wants to see that last episode.
Yeah, maybe that's what he's hoping for. He's like, for my next show, I'd like the finale. RWH says Classroom of the Elite, Mob Psycho 100, Grand Blue, Asobi, Asobase, Konosuba, and Kumodesu if done by a better studio. So obviously we're seeing a big consensus here by Konosuba, or not Konosuba, Kumodesu done by a different season studio. A lot of people want Konosuba. Another person said Grand Blue here. Mob Psycho 100, never really got into.
That's pretty good.
I heard it was good. Okay, this person. So K Zeno says, "Man, I would love a Promise Neverland season 2. I especially would love to see the Goldie Pond arc animated. That's a good one. I think that I can't tell if he's saying more here. That's actually, yeah, he's just talking about Tokyo Ghoul a little bit more, which is nice. I do like the straight up meme there on the Promise Neverland. And then the last one we're just seeing more, but I want Kumodesu season 2. So
yeah."
General consensus: people want Kumodesu season 2 done by a better studio. Saw a lot of Konosubas, a lot of Overlords. Like I think those are all only. I think out of all the ones that people wrote that I agree with most is probably Noragami, because it's one of those shows where like it should have been here by now. One of the things up until like 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, one of the things I would have wrote in there was Made in Abyss, but that also got confirmed. So
yeah, it did.
Yeah, so I mean that's pretty nice. But yeah, so obviously if you guys haven't seen it before, every single week there's going to be a question a week in the pinned comment down below. Make sure you respond to that. You respond to that, we read it out next week. I'm going to try and do a lot more fun ones now, so a lot more just good questions, that kind of stuff. So just keep an eye out for it. As always, like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. It just helps us grow. We're still trying to hit that 1,000 subscribers. Yeah. If we get there, it just makes it easier for us to do like polls, community posts, that kind of stuff. Take more time to do more bonus content than just the weekly anime episodes. So yeah, just do all that kind of stuff down below. And I think before we get anything else, we're gonna have to crack open our non-sponsored energy drinks for I think what is technically the first time in like a month.
Yeah.
Since it is nice in the morning right now, I'm actually allowed to drink one. So. Oh, way too delicious. It's gonna be hard not to chug that right away. So obviously, with the news of Kumodesu being delayed till sometime, when that comes out, we're gonna have to talk about it. But it is not on this week's list. Kind of upsetting. Yeah. But we'll get it eventually. I hope. So first up on today's list then is the My Hero Academia episode 102.
Off to Endeavor's agency.
So as we know, another sad part, just as we were getting this like hyped up story ready to start, we know that after this we're taking like a 3-month break. So I guess it's coming back in fall is probably what it is technically.
Yeah, it's taking a 1 core break, I think. So
yeah, so a lot of this episode is just set up. So we know that it starts off basically with them going to, you see, because I don't remember, I still didn't check if there was the post credit scene last week or not. But in this one, they're all just like, oh yeah, we're going there.
Yeah, they just kind of roll up and they're welcomed by Endeavor. So
yeah, they're just like welcomed by Endeavor. As soon as they're talking to him, kind of thing, he's looking at them all. He always gives Midori a lot of like funny looks, and he literally is like, "I only wanted Shoto to come with me." But Shoto like literally made it like a kid, like, "Oh, I'll come with you if like they can also come as well."
Yeah, I do like how Midoriya rolled up with the All Might scarf as well, just to rub it in.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple parts in the episode that I liked. A lot of it was, I'm going to say filler pretty lightly. It wasn't filler. It's still like important stuff, but it wasn't like a very exciting episode. It was just set up a lot for what's coming next. But there were some parts I like the part I agreed on about how like I think that Endeavor would be a good role model for Bakugo. Because he's very much the same type. He like interviews terribly. He doesn't really care about like the public opinion of him. It's more about just like I'm aggressively gonna save people. That's like how I roll.
Yeah.
But since then now, Endeavor's changed, right? Like when he has taken over, like that's something that's cool to do, I guess, when you're like the number 2 hero. But when you're the number 1, there becomes like a responsibility that he just automatically learns as soon as he becomes number 1.
I don't even know if it was that. I think it was even just like getting hit and realizing like life and death is on the line. And yes,
but I mean, even like before that battle though, like as soon as you saw like him become like number 1 hero, there was like something in him that like changed. It's just like the amount of responsibility put on you then makes like it like it's such a huge difference from number 2 to number 1 that I think that like Bakugo, like now seeing this and having learned from him is like a better experience for Bakugo. Obviously with hints of like him getting an actual hero name kind of thing. And
yeah, I wonder if they're ever going to actually announce a proper name for him, or
I feel like it might be sometime in the next part. If it hasn't been, I mean, obviously people who would read the manga would know by now, but I could see it coming soon. I also like hate Deku's hero name. Like I'm not gonna lie, like Deku's just I get like the point of it, like from season 1, but it's kind of a lame hero name. I still prefer Small Might. And then same with obviously Shoto also needs a hero name because his name is Shoto. So
yeah,
that's very lame. He's obviously not a very creative person sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, he might come up with one as time goes on. I think he just did that because he didn't want anything that would identify him with Endeavor.
Yeah, I think eventually when he picks his hero name, it'll have more to do with it. It'll be, Endeavor 2 or something. Probably not that far, but probably just some sort of name that actually incorporates.
Do the same thing Ida did, just take the name of
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I want to just say it's gonna be like hot and cold, but that's like I don't know, too right on the nose or something.
Fire
like,
and ice, or
yeah, I don't know, something along those lines. I was trying to think of other important details we got in the episode. Obviously, I think we see with Hawks.
yeah.
Obviously, he has still to pretend to be a bad guy. He goes and we see that Best Jeanist is alive and good, and he's just in his hideout, kind of chilling.
Yeah, there was kind of an implication at the end of that scene.
Yeah, especially when you later see Hawks with like a bag. When
Yeah.
he's waiting for Dabby to show up, because basically like he was supposed to originally like release Nomu and make him fight a hero, but he chose like the #1 hero because he thought like in his mind he knew he had to do this, but he thought like who's the most likely to survive this.
Yeah.
And it worked out, but then the League of Villains were kind of like how about this time you do it again, but you don't do it to like the #1 hero. Like you gotta you gotta prove yourself kind of thing. So yeah, he went over to Best Jeanist, gave him a visit, and then
something happened.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm sorry for this kind of thing. And I'm like, oh no, like this is the classic like undercover cop has to take someone out to prove he's ready. Like it's
Yeah.
poor Hawks, poor guy. I mean,
I feel worse for Best Jeanist based on the circumstance.
I guess, but I think the whole point is that he acknowledged that he like will never be able to get back to hero work, or like he'd like to, but like it seems like it's gonna be difficult. So that's why
he only has one lung left, is what he specified. So
I don't know. Did he even say that he has one lung left? I thought he specifically said like, oh, like turns out you can live without a lung or something, or like without lungs. I
thought he said you could live with missing a lung.
I mean, everybody knows. Well, maybe not everybody knows, but most people know you can live without one lung. Like it's just harder on your body. But I thought for a second they were implying that you could live with like no lungs using some sort of hero shit. And I'm like, oh fuck, man, that's cool. Like,
just
how do you breathe?
I'm assuming like a mechanical lung or something like that, if that's the case.
Yeah, I think that Hawks is like, okay, well, then if I have to take out a hero, like an important hero to prove that I can, get all this information, help out in the long run, I might as well do one that's kind of fucked anyways, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, the options in that case would have been Best Jeanist or Silver Samurai, I think is the one. Mm-hmm. Like just a really old dude.
Yeah, if you're trying to take out someone easy that doesn't affect the world too much. I mean, especially since according to the public, Best Jeanist is already missing. It's also then not really going to affect the public opinion too much, unless it's like revealed where the the League of Villains and like shows him dead or shows like a tape or something of them like torturing him or something, then to kind of lower the the morale of the public. But I think other than that, like what other big things happen in the episode?
Well, Hawks talked to the group in Endeavor and gave him the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like with his little hint and showing that Endeavor's not like a dumbass, which is nice.
Yeah, because you see Endeavor just going through the book and figuring out the codes. Like, oh shit, there's what was it called, the Liberation Army?
Yeah, but like we don't really know what that means.
I think there's a group of people called the Liberation Army who are gonna fuck shit up.
Well, yeah, because how many people did it say they have? It was like basically if there's like a Liberation Army, they're gonna act like sometime soon, and they have this many people, kind of thing.
Yeah, it was like 200,000 or something like that.
Yeah, and Endeavor's like, oh damn. And I'm just like, I'm surprised that Endeavor was even able to crack the code, but at the same time, like. He's never been shown to be like dumb, just kind of like a dick. So I was like, okay, I guess for some reason I had this like link that he was dumb.
I think everyone just kind of assumed it, but
I mean, even Hawks kind of did too. He's like, I don't know if he's gonna get it.
Yeah.
He's like, I hope he does.
I mean, it was a pretty vague hint, so
I mean, it's definitely setting us up for what's to come. I swear to God, I don't know if this is in the ending because I think I watched the ending to make sure it wasn't a post-credits scene or something like that. There's a couple different spots. There's like one where they show all these like corporate guys in like a room and they all look pretty evil. Because we saw in this one, I think it was what the Liberation Army is. There was like the group of heroes.
Yeah. And
they run into Hawks there and they start like talking to him. And there was like, what was his name? Like Roller Guy or
Slip and Slide?
Something like that. So like they're like bad heroes in like a sense.
Yeah, they're heroes who have defected to the Liberation Army, but they're still working in the organization.
Yeah, so I guess that's like the big thing that's coming up. I still think there's going to be a plot with the people that are making the hero tools, or whatever it is.
Oh, definitely.
Because they hinted at that, and I swear I've seen all these like corporate guys. I think there was also a spot in this where they showed who was it? There was like a dark table with like people at it that you couldn't see.
Oh yeah.
Because I like paused at the moment to like look because I was assuming it was the League of Villains, but you couldn't see any of them. But I paused, and one of the only things of light you could see was like the like sweater girl school uniform, and I'm like, oh, it's the stupid blood chick. I was like, okay, so it's 100% the League of Villains, but it was very much a setup episode. There's not tons to say about it. It was really just, hey, like this is the final episode. We're not gonna have tons of action. We're just setting up that there's this going on with like the heroes, with the Liberation Army, and all this unrest in the public, and then there's this going on with like the hero course thing with like Bakugo, Deku, and Shoto going to Endeavor's agency.
Yeah.
So they're in the place they need to be for like the next arc to happen.
Yeah, other than that, we just got some details on like how big Endeavor's agency is, and
Yeah, like, oh yeah, we got like tons of people here. Like, it actually looked kind of sloppy though. Like, compared to when I watched the movie, you got to see their little agency on the island, and they were running so smoothly. This one's, I thought like they would have been better at it this time.
I mean, I think it's also scope.
I guess.
Like, there's like on the island, it would have been like what 28 people or so.
Would have been their class, basically. That's it.
Yeah, and this would be like hundreds of people working across a large area. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was expecting more like infrastructure, like them showing like, which departments cover what. Like, they have, if they had like the hero agency broken into multiple departments, one's for like, rescue, environmental like issues, stuff like that.
I mean, I'm sure that's probably the case, but we also basically saw the call center part of it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case. We just didn't get to. They're like, hey, let me bore you with a whole episode of the infrastructure of the one of the main hero agencies. So
I would probably watch that. Honestly,
I'd be interested. Because like whenever you have unrealistic worlds like this, you always wonder how some things work.
Yeah, I mean, I think, was it Kingsraid that I spent like 5 minutes going on about the currency conversion?
Yeah, I think that was that King's Raid? Now I don't know. Or
it was King's Raid?
No, it was Mushoku Tensei.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. Because they actually put like detail into some things. They thought about something. But even like the hero, like when you wonder recently with some of the Marvel shows that have come out, like I know you didn't watch the Marvel shows, but in Captain Falcon and the Winter Buck, in that one there's a point where Captain Falcon literally mentions the fact that like they're not paid as heroes. So like, his family's like broke and they can't afford like their business and stuff like that, even though he's been like saving the world from alien invasions. Jeez. And it opened up a lot of questions and that kind of stuff. But I wonder in something like My Hero, like how are they paid exactly? Like break down the full like payment from like, are you paid?
They did touch base on that early on. It's government contract work,
but not enough though. Like, is that like is there like a commission like per rescue?
It goes through like a department that determines based on that versus collateral damage versus potential damage. And
that sounds like the shittiest job in the world. If you were the guy in charge of that, if you were the guy working at the office,
it's an insurance broker. That's all you are.
Yeah, but it sounds like awful though, because it'd be constantly. We've seen the battles that have taken place.
Yeah, but have you ever seen like an insurance broker's job? It's the same thing. Like if you go to check out a building that burned down.
Yeah, but they'd have to do it like 300 times a day for all like there's just whole cities that have been like destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a unique circumstance.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe they have like a quirk that helps them, take care of it easier. Maybe they have like a super math quirk or something. I don't know.
I mean, we've seen people who have a quirk that is just being really smart. So yeah,
it's true. But yeah, a lot of this episode is just set up. Really, it's just getting us hyped for when we come back in the fall and we finally get to see everything going on with the Endeavor Agency and the whole Liberation Army and all the League of Villains. They've been pretty quiet in the anime. Not like quiet. They've been doing a lot of stuff behind the sines, like as we've seen with Dabby and
they just haven't been the focus.
Yeah, they haven't been the focus. They've been keeping hidden. They've been using a lot of just like what's going on to create like morale issues and like the public and unrest about heroes and that kind of situation, all leading up to something big, which I think is going to be like a lot of the next arc, as we saw with like the whole section of that city being destroyed in like a couple episodes ago.
They just put that down to writers though, right? So
yeah, they're like doing shit, they're doing shit, but they're doing shit in the background. But I think that when we come back in the fall and we actually get this next arc, it's gonna be really fun to talk about. Hopefully.
Yeah. Do you think the League's gonna be tied to the Liberation Army or
probably? Yeah, I think I feel like they're just tied to everything.
Probably, yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like they're using because they're like using Hawks as well, and he's like interacting with people from like the Liberation Army thing. So I feel like
that is true. Yeah,
there's something going on there.
You saw that, and apparently something I found really weird is that they apparently like really decked him out with a bunch of sensors and things.
Mm-hmm.
How does nobody who works on his equipment notice this?
I don't know. I guess like maybe the people who work on his equipment are in on it. I don't know.
I mean, I guess does he even have support equipment other than his like glasses?
Maybe I don't. It's hard to say sometimes. So you don't really know what support equipment until they like use it, because a lot of it just looks like regular clothing. Like for all we know, his cool like his like a pilot jacket thing has some sort of support thing going inside of it that helps with balance in the air or something. Who knows?
That is true. Yeah.
Either way, when we get to the next season, when we get to fall, I'm sure we're gonna have a really fun arc to talk about. So if you're a fan of My Hero, stick around. Even if you don't watch throughout the whole next summer, if there's nothing you're interested in, maybe try and check back when the next part of the season comes out, and maybe you'll find something you like.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking more about My Hero way in about 3 months from now. So it's pretty far away, but we'll be back to it. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Next up on the list is Tokyo Revengers, episode number 12.
Revenge.
Wow. Okay. I swear to God, this episode was like this is like before we take our break episode.
Yeah,
like,
that or a season finale.
Like everything, so far in the past like whole year basically has been doing all the cours, right? It's been like the popular thing.
Yeah.
I swear that wasn't a thing before.
You got it periodically, but it wasn't referred to as a core. It was usually just like, this is a season, this is a season.
I feel like I had it with like there used to be a lot of them with My Hero. They would do it often, but most of the animes I can think about watching, I never really thought about it being split into like different cores at all.
Yeah, I mean, I was always bad for just watching things once they finished, so that didn't affect me.
So maybe you didn't notice as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one felt like now from what I've read, I've checked it out a few times, and no one corrected me last week. It's going right through for a full 24 episodes. If I'm wrong about this, if there's some information I'm missing, be sure to leave it down below. But as far as I know, it's going through for a full 24 episodes. And this is just like the setup to this next arc, which I'm pretty sure is like the Valhalla arc from what I've heard from people. Because there's the Mobius arc and the Valhalla arc are apparently the ones that are going to be covered during season 1. So that's definitely what we're getting to. But as we left off last week, he's back. He's back in the current timeline. It worked. He just got a call while talking to Akun, who's living his dream as a hairdresser. He got a call from Naoto being like, hey, or is it Naoto?
Naoto, yeah.
Yeah, he got a call from Naoto being like, hey, let's go see my sister. She's alive. And he's like, oh, fuck. And that's where the episode ended. We see him getting picked up. They go to visit Hina. He goes up. He decides last minute, he's like, no, I can't do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
He like has like a little bit of like a panic attack.
Yeah. Well, I think he realized like her being alive means that she has nothing to do with him anymore.
Well, not only that, like her being alive right now means that he's still like, or that she still broke up with him, at one point, like, because that's the memory he has. So she broke up with him, he doesn't, she wasn't into him. So like, it doesn't really like, there's no reason. Like, yeah, he still has all these memories of her right now because it's all so fresh and he has all these feelings for her because it was like right there like a day ago.
Yeah.
But to her, it's been like 12 years and like, he means nothing to her at this point. She already broke up with him like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So, he decides to not go. He changes his mind, he goes down. But of course, as he's going down, he runs into her in the door.
Very anime moment.
Very anime moment, of course. So he runs into her, then they go upstairs, and then it's like it's really awkward, He like starts talking about the weather, and she starts responding, and it's so awkward. Now just like, come on, guys, like this is the first time you're seeing each other in like 10 years. Like, come on, do something more interesting.
I mean, it's kind of a fair reaction. Like, what do you talk about after all that time?
Yeah, I feel like there would be something to talk about. Like,
I mean, like Takemichi obviously doesn't want to get into like his past because it's like, yeah, I'm working part time at a video rental store.
Listen, I'd be trying to fish for details of what's happened in the past. Like,
you think he's that smart?
How does he not even consider the fact that the timeline has changed with their relationship? Like, he's obviously been a far better boyfriend when he's brought back to his past.
Well, Naoto checked this. Mm-hmm. He checked to see it, and he determined that they broke up like 10 years prior.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, even then, you could have considered that you would have had a better relationship before that breakup. Maybe the breakup, even though you broke up, maybe it still went better than it did before.
Like an amiable.
Yeah, like you just never know. You could be trying to fish for a couple of questions just to see how things were. You could be like, oh, like remember this time, like bring up some good memories. But yeah, as we know, Takemichi's dumb, so
I mean, yeah,
not too surprised.
That's part of his charm.
At one point, Naoto's like, hey, like, what if we go for a drive? Like, maybe a change of scenery is going to liven this up. And they're like, yeah, that makes sense.
I do like how he thinks just putting him in a more compact space is going to help.
I mean, it was really just like hey, we need to get to the next spot for the plot. So,
I mean, yeah.
He's like, for some reason, I think a drive's going to help with this. And of course, immediately doesn't. Like, they go into the car, it's the exact same thing. But then he gets a call and he needs to go to work. So, he's like, oh, Hina, like, I'll come pick up the car later kind of thing. Like, you guys just go talk it out. So she's like, hey, do you want to go for like a walk in the park? And Takemichi's like, yeah, sure. So, they drive to like the park. They go for a walk. And then very quickly becomes immediate that like Hina starts talking about how like, she's still like in love with her old like boyfriend kind of thing, like her ex. And then, she still has the necklace on, but Takemichi's like, I don't think is that the necklace? It could be any necklace, even though he saw it like a day ago.
Yeah, and he starts determining it's like it might be the same type of necklace, but she might have just bought a similar one yesterday or something like that. It's just like
yeah, and as he starts to, I think, slowly realize that she is kind of talking about him, she like, turns around, she's crying. She's mentioned about how she's mentioning how her boyfriend, the person she loved, broke up with her. So
yeah,
he starts having like a mini panic attack. He's like, oh, I got to go to the washroom. So he runs to the washroom, like wash his face, fresh. And then he starts thinking, he's like, did I break up with her in this timeline now? Like,
which I want to know, like, how dumb would he have to be to do that?
Well, from what we've seen, autopilot Takemichi is kind of an idiot.
I mean, yeah. I think he broke up with her in the original timeline, but that was because he was just running away from everything. I'm
pretty sure the one that we saw where she broke up with him was in the original timeline.
Oh, was it?
I think it's just because he was being like what kind of boyfriend was he really if he was like constantly not seeing her because he had to do all these tasks and run around for this gang and like his life sucked, so I feel like she ended it.
Maybe.
I think that's the memory he had. But in this one, obviously, his life's not as bad. Probably if he's inside Tomen.
Yeah, I am kind of curious about how he still ended up at the video store.
there's a lot of questions when it comes to the time travel aspect. I don't know. It's so, you have to think about it as so weird because right now it's not even that like it's not like when he goes back that timeline doesn't even connect to where he currently is. It does in a sense, but there's still that gray part in the middle that he's gonna keep adjusting. So like everything just, I don't know. It's very strange.
Yeah.
As we see though, as he exits, when he's like, okay, I'm gonna go back and like talk to her. As he exits like the washroom, he runs into what was his name, like Hanmi or something like that, Hachi,
Something like that. Yeah.
something like. Obviously, he sees the tattoo on his hand, and the guy literally mentions being like, oh, you're here. He's like, oh, I thought you were both supposed to be in the car. He's like, oh well. He's like,
yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't just hired this like hit job. Why did he not just fucking finish the job right there while Takemichi's chilling?
Well, I mean,
there?
he doesn't want the blood in his own hands.
I guess. I mean, last time we saw him, he was trying to fucking beat people with his own hands.
Yeah, but that was a street fight. It wasn't murking someone in a washroom.
I guess. Plus, now he's like a grown adult, so he kills people adult ways.
Yeah, by hiring someone else to do it.
But yeah, of course, since Takemichi told Hina to go wait in the car, and he's like, oh, I thought you were both supposed to be in the car. Now, okay, so here's one of the questions again.
How the hell they know he was supposed to be in the car?
Exactly. I'm still saying the Kisaki guy, like the villain guy, is a time traveler as well.
I think that's the case.
Because he's like, oh, you were supposed to both be in the car. I feel like what's happening is they're both doing time travel things, and it keeps messing with it. So everything Kisaki thinks is going to be changing whenever Takemichi changes things. So they're having this like endless battle. Either way, Takemichi freaks out. He realizes what that probably meant. He runs to the car, and as he runs to the car, he sees Hina in the car, and then he sees another big ass car like revving up its engine, ready just to ram it.
Yeah, just a good old Hummer.
Yeah, just a classic Hummer. He obviously runs. He can't make it in time. Full impact, smashes into Hina's car, right into like the wall. As he runs to go check on Hina, he first sees like the driver in the other car, and who would it be, of course, except for Akun. And he's like, what the fuck, Akun? He's like, I thought we were cool. I thought you are living your dream. And then, of course, Akun just starts saying the exact same things he said before. Like, even though everything looked good, his life looked good, he got the dream, he said the exact same shit again. He's like, oh, I can't help it. Like, I'm under his, like, I'm under, like, Kisaki's orders kind of thing. Like,
yeah, he's one of his soldiers. My question was that Akun said, wait, you were supposed to be in the car.
Yeah.
So he did this fully knowing that he was trying to kill Takemichi.
Yeah, I mean, he also last time pushed him onto a subway train trying to kill Takemichi.
I mean, true, yeah.
This time, I feel like it's more of a dick move this time because he not only knew he was trying to kill Takemichi, but he knew he was trying to kill Hina. And he knew Hina when he was younger.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was someone else Takemichi knew that killed Hina the first time.
I mean, yeah, it probably could have been. But like in that, if you consider the original timeline where like Hina and Takemichi wouldn't have had much to do with each other, like it was never like Takemichi didn't fuck with all those gangs to the point where people would want to kill Hina.
I mean, the thing was, Hina was tied to Naoto, and as far as we know, Naoto was a cop in the original timeline.
Maybe. We don't know if Naoto was a cop in the original timeline. A lot of what we were supposed to believe is that Naoto became a cop after Takemichi warned him.
Maybe.
Confusing time travel stuff. Either way, Akun, even though Takemichi seemed like he changed time, all he really did was stop Akun from shaving his head. He still works for the same people. He still has to do like the same orders. He still can't escape. He still says like, "Hey, save us," kind of thing. Like,
yeah, I mean, if anything, Akun didn't get to live his cushy life because he wasn't running a.
I mean, we saw last time that Akun asked Takemichi basically if he can travel through time, and then just like this one, when we saying like "save us," he's implying that he knows that Takemichi is time traveling, and the only way he'd know is he works for Kisaki. So I'm just saying right now, that's coming up.
Yeah. I mean, I could even argue the fact that he knew shit was going to go down all these different times. Mm-hmm. Like, even just saying, like, hey, Draken's gonna die. We need to avoid this. And then that's what happens.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I'm kind of sad, like, because Takemichi's just gonna go find Naoto and like go back in time. I'm kind of sad first he doesn't like look for Draken or Mikey again in like the current time.
He might check and see what's going on.
I hope he does, because like I'm just really curious about that. Like there might still be a time where maybe Draken still dies some different time.
Yeah,
I don't know. But after he encounters Akun and he realizes that life still sucks, he goes, of course, to see Hina, see if she's okay. He's like, "Oh, I'll get you out of there," and she's like, "I don't think you're getting me out of here, dude. I can't feel my legs currently." And she like looks down and Not looking very good for her. So instead, he goes in, he gives her a hug, and he's like, "I'm gonna save you." He's like,
well, before that, he was fully committed to going down with her.
Yeah, but like, so he's like hugging her. Well, he's not. I feel like he knows that he wants to save her, but like it's up to her to be like, "Hey, you got to get out of here, Takemichi. Like shit's about to go down."
She literally threw him out of the car,
and he just like emotionally can't let go. So she pushes him, and like a fucking big push. Let's without any sort of leg strength. just a full arm push.
I mean, he was jacked. What can you say?
I guess pushes him right out of the car, right as the car explodes, and then Takemichi just like walks away, and he's just like power walking away, and he's like, I'm gonna do some. He's like, I am going to become the head of Toman.
I mean, honestly, I think I'm gonna quote Naoto here. It's like, why don't you just kill the problem in the past? Find Kisaki, push him onto a subway train, and
kill Akun too. Take him out. Fuck him.
I feel like Akun's like the measure of whether he won or not. Just like go up to him, it's like, hey, are you Kisaki soldier? Yes, fuck, I gotta go back again.
He's like, no, I'm not, dude. Like, I never was. We're best friends. And then later that night, he's gonna stab him in his bed and be like, save me, Takemichi. Well, he stabs him. I don't know. Akun is definitely like, where are some of his other friends? What if in these other timelines,
they're all gonna be under the.
I know, but I wish in some of these timelines, his other friends were the ones that were like trying to kill him or something. Just we're really shitting on Akun here. He gets all the shit under the stick.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking like maybe like it'd be a different person he has to save each time.
I just feel like the first thing I do when I came back, especially if you have like a police guy who can like look things up, I'd look where all of my friends are. I'd look where all of my enemies are. I'd like see where they all are, just like know what happened, kind of thing.
I mean, to be fair, I feel like a lot of his enemies aren't going to be on the grid properly. So
that's true. But like, why is he not looking? He knows that shit happened with Akun now multiple times. Why is he not like looking where his other friends are? Just to know, just to like,
help. Next time
like,
he's going to be the guy with
me.
Health issues or like guys who kept doing stupid poses.
I feel like they're saving a lot of it for like future arcs and stuff like that. But I'm just like curious as to why Takemichi is a character. Like if this was a real world, while he wouldn't be looking up what's going on with his friends. You know?
I think it's just a lot to do with the fact that it's like he's time traveling.
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that he's a dumbass. I think that Takemichi is just like a stupid. I like that he's just like a dumb character, and they're not really trying to tell it. They're not really trying to show us anything otherwise. Like most of the times when he wins, like fights or however he wins, is just like through like pure luck mixed with just like determination. But he's never smart. He's never winning because he outthinks something.
Yeah.
There's almost always a way easier way to win if he just would have used his head, but he just doesn't. And I at least respect that they're not changing that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's gonna like sit down. It's like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to fight properly. I'm gonna learn how to.
Okay, if he now has decided he wants to become the head of Toman, he fucking has to learn how to fight. He cannot. He has to go to Dragon immediately. Like, hey, listen, I want to like I'm ready to join the crew. Like, I'm not quite ready for Mikey's Jackie yet, but I want to be ready for that one day. Teach me how to brawl. Teach me how to ride a bike. Like start learning some shit. You can't be head of a biker gang if you don't ride a motorcycle.
Teach me how to push someone into a subway train and get away with it, because I kind of need to do that.
Yeah, that's like there's just a lot of things he needs to learn. So I'm excited for that. The really nice part is that as far as we know, the show's not ending yet, so we still have a full another like 12 episodes left.
Yeah, I'm really pumped for that.
We're only halfway through, and so far it's a really, really entertaining show. I know one of our friends has been watching it, but I think he hasn't watched it since Draken got stabbed. And the other day I was like, listen, you just got to watch it. Like the newest episode, frickin' just like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
A roller coaster of emotion, what with thinking that everything's good and then everything being immediately bad and like the Akun stuff again.
Yeah, I mean, this is something you can kind of expect with the series that was still going, but it still managed to hit, so...
Yeah. Either way, very entertaining episode. Let us know what you guys thought about Tokyo Revengers down below. As I mentioned when we started this segment, if you know any information that we're missing about like this season, if it's going to be split up or anything like that, let us know. As far as we currently know, it's not, so we'll be enjoying it for another 12 episodes. So if you're a fan, stick around and we'll be talking about it next week, hopefully. Next up on the list is the season possible series finale of Higehiro.
Future.
This episode I thought was rather tame.
It was lackluster.
I don't want to say that the anime as like a whole was ruined because of it, because it wasn't. Like the whole show was rather like, other than a couple spicy episodes, the show was rather tame. Like most of the issues in an episode were getting resolved in that episode. There wasn't like any long arc conflicts.
Yeah, I mean there was the self-contained arc of the series that was Sayu like getting over her trauma.
Yeah, and I think that it still did a good job of that. I don't think this is the show that we'll ever see from again. It just seems like a series finale, just kind of like in and out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure if they wanted a genre switch, they could definitely just go to like a slice of life, like now her, living with him in the future. Like you could easily do that, but most anime doesn't typically do that.
Yeah, they do a genre switch. It's usually really early in the series. So
yeah, like you wouldn't just typically go from like this like emotional drama, but this like slightly almost like abused girl, and then change it to like a fun slice of life harem with all of his women like in the next one.
Yeah, I do like how that's what they were hinting at the end.
Yeah, the main issue with the finale was just that everything was so tame. Like, it ends up like Sayu ends up apologizing to the mother too, being like, "Hey, I'm sorry I caused you so much trouble," and the mom's just like, oh my god, you're so annoying, but fine, you can live here till you're 18. And it's just like,
I mean,
and that's like the ending we get with her. I'm like,
I mean, there was a little more to it than that.
that was like basically it.
The mother had like a little breakdown saying like, I don't know how to apologize because I don't know when I started making a mistake.
Yeah, I guess, but that's like
It's
being
still
like,
not a proper resolution, but it's something.
that's literally being like, I'm not going to apologize for this. Like, it's not my fault that I didn't know that I became a bad mom. Like,
yeah.
it's just like and like, I don't know. Even then, after she like acknowledged, she's like, oh, like what he said like made me feel some things. You know, like what Yoshida said is like what made her consider. But then she still just like turns away as like, you can stay here, till you're 18, and then she like walks away. And it's like, I can respect the show for not trying to turn. Like, to not trying to make it like the mother can change all at once. You can't go from being a bad person for like 18 or like 16 years to being a good person like overnight from something that one guy said. I respect that choice as a character, makes sense. But I hate that like it's just okay. It's just like all the characters like, okay, well, thank you so much, Mom, for allowing me to live with you till I'm 18. And I'm like, come on, like have some sort of like, can she at least walk into the house and get hit by a car? Like at least for the audience?
Jesus.
Like just something.
It's like one very specific part of the roof collapses and hits her.
It's like realistic as a character, I suppose, but like for the audience, like we just want some sort of comeuppance, Like we want something to happen to her. She's not nice.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, people don't always get their comeuppance.
I know, and that sucks. She didn't even get a drink in the face. Like that's the lowest. Like that's like the lowest stakes thing that she could have had happen to her. She didn't even get it.
I mean, yeah.
I was at least expecting maybe whenever they did like a montage going towards the future kind of thing that like we'd see maybe her and Sayu like bonding a little bit more, like even just over small things, but we didn't. She was in none of the scenes.
Yeah, we got some like she's eating lunch at school and people are talking to her. And...
Yeah, like she's okay, she's making some friends, like that's good. We're seeing I mean Yoshida, the most realistic part of the whole like time thing is that like when you're in like your late 20s to like 2 years later, nothing fucking changes. I mean, like when you're in high school, 16 to 18, every year is different. When you're like 27 to 29, it's all the exact same thing. Like every single year pretty much looks the same. I was like, that's the most realistic part of this. Yeah, he's working the same job. It's the same people. Like nothing's changed.
Like he went out to karaoke, which I don't think he did before, and he's learning to cook.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. Like it's such minute differences when you're like a grown adult, like how much your year to year changes.
Yeah.
But like when you're a teenager, it's like every year is just like momentous, right?
Even every month is a little different.
Yeah, like I can think of like months when I'm like 17 because I can think, oh yeah, like November like 2009, man, that was like a year or that was like a month, Like, but like now I'm like they're all the exact same. Like let's be honest.
Yeah, 30 days is like, wait, what year is it again?
So that was like the most realistic part of the episode. But yeah, before that, obviously, we see their heartwarming goodbye.
Yeah.
I like the brothers' conversation first, being like, "Hey, like you love my sister," and he's like, "Whoa, dude, she's 16." He's like, "Doesn't matter when it comes to love, my brother." And I'm like, maybe it does a little bit. Like, can we preface this? Like, it matters a little bit for sure.
I kind of get the idea. It's like, hey, you saved my sister. Like, this is the one time I'm going to be okay with it.
The fact is, and it's always weird to say because you never want to sound weird when saying it, but like, yes, she's like 16. What do we think he is? 27?
I think they established he's 27 or 28. Yeah.
Okay, so that's weird, right? But like, let's say she was 26 and he was 36. Does that really matter in life?
Not really. No.
No. Like, so there's a point where age no longer affects it that much.
I mean, there is still like if someone's like 70 and someone's like 25.
Yeah, like that to me is still like kind of weird. But if like those people desperately love each other, good for them. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. But like, it's just because, and I think that the whole point, the why. Like the Yoshida character is still like works is because he acknowledges this. He's like, no. He's like, we can obviously see that he has feelings for her at this point. It's gone too far.
Yeah, but they've been an integral part of each other's lives for this long. He has to have some.
Yeah, but he's like, I don't care about my feelings though. He's like, I'm not gonna date like a 16-year-old.
Yeah,
like she tries again the night before she leaves. She's like, hey, listen, it's like our last night together. What if we just bang finally? And he's just like, no. He's like, no. He's like, I don't care. He's like, you're too young. I don't care. Like, I at least respect it of him. But yeah, I mean, I agree with the brother's statement to an extent, but at the same time, it's like your sister's 16. This has been like a father figure for 6 months. Like she really needs to go learn how to live her own life. She doesn't even know how to go to school properly because like before that, when she was in school, she didn't make any friends because of all her mommy issues. She made one friend. She killed herself. She ran away from home. Like she hasn't lived a normal life of just like having friends, going up to cafes, like she mentioned in the last episode, like doing normal things first. So, I like, the brother goodbye is kind of nice. And he's like, oh, make sure you keep in touch kind of thing. Like come back and visit. Yeah. He's like, I don't know if I will. Because I think that he doesn't want, I don't think Yoshida wants to, basically, don't think he wants to see her till she's like an adult. Just to make sure that she's not like relying on seeing him as like a condition to her doing well, kind of thing.
Yeah, because even when he was talking to her, he said, just take your memories and put them in a box and just don't think about them.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, I can't do that. He's like, okay, well, like, don't think about them for a little while, you know?
Yeah. Like, I get her side of the equation, just like, I mean, you kind of pulled her out of a really bad situation.
Yeah, she's literally like, hey, I love you. And he's like, okay. He's like, well, like, I still don't feel that way about you.
She's like, cool, yeah. Anyways, I gotta go.
That's like the classic, I love you. Thank you. Like, that's nice to hear. But I mean, like, we can obviously tell that he does in fact like love her. You know, even when he gets home after the plane ride, he just like he cries a little bit. He's a little upset. He's like, oh, this is like, you know, he's like, I thought I was pretending it was like bad for her, but it was actually worse for me, kind of situation.
Yeah.
But like, I can respect the character because even though he's at least I don't know if he's self-aware that he has feelings for her, but he's still like, hey, there's like, you know, she needs to live her life first. And then we get into like the, you know, the nice montage of them, and as we mentioned earlier, hers just a lot of like normal teenage things, like nothing like crazy happening. It's just like, you know, friends.
Which, I mean, I think that's the point of it.
Yeah, like friends approaching her at lunch, talking. Like she does school. We get to see her with like the graduation like scroll, or whatever the hell you call them.
Yeah.
And then for him, a lot of it's just like he's learning how to cook slightly, because you know that's obviously a hole that was left after she left, is that he does not eat great. He's still working. You know, he's going out a little bit more with some of his coworkers. Yeah. We do see him at dinner with Gojo, and he has like his head on the table, looking like he's asking her to go with him again.
I interpreted it as she asked him out and he said no.
Oh, I hope that was the case. I hope, like, I guess, because I feel like that has to be, I'm like with you in this, and I hope that's it, because he did say the next time you need to ask me. Like, that was the whole thing. Yeah. So I'm hoping she asked him. He's like, no, I can't. Like, now he's like developed feelings. You know, he's like, he's past that. Yeah. Because like, let's be honest, like that was like episode 2 or something. That was a fucking stupid response from her. Being like, oh no, I actually do love you. I just lied about my boyfriend because like I just don't think the timing's right now. So like one day we'll date though. I'm like,
I still go with the whole like she went like, oh no, my safety net's going away.
Yeah, that's what I kind of think too. Like she never became the secret bitch character. Like a lot of moments she kind of helped with Sayu, but like I still don't buy that as like a good enough excuse. So I hope that it was her asking him out, and he's like, no, sorry, I can't. Yeah. But all of it leads up to, you know, he's like, they ask him, hey, do you want to come out with us tonight? Like, I want to celebrate, you know, like Mishima getting like a first big kind of job. And he's just like, I can't. Like, I told convenience store girl I'd go help her. Yeah. You know, she dyed, or I guess she didn't dye her hair. She probably stopped dyeing her hair. Yeah. So she's an adult now with her dark hair. And then we can clearly see from her point of view, when we see her, this is a setup. Obviously, we knew this was a setup anyways.
I mean, even just it was a Gojo, the boss lady. Mm-hmm. Okay. Even just the way she was talking, I feel like she was in on it.
Probably. But yeah, so we obviously know exactly what's going to happen. He walks home after the work, and he runs into a girl underneath the street lamp. And he sees it's her immediately, starts crying, wipes away his tears. He's like, no, I'm not going to let her see me crying. And he walks up, and he just kind of has some of the same like conversations when he first met her. Before she's like, hey, like, let me stay with you kind of thing. And that's like where we leave off. So it's an ambiguous ending. So you could be like,
it's just them reconnecting. That's how it ends. So you're supposed to just imagine your own end.
Yeah, it's them reconnecting. Like now that she's, you know, finished, she might be going to like college in Tokyo or something like that. And maybe she's like, hey, let me stay with you while I go to college. Maybe she wants to rekindle the relationship. Yeah. But we don't really know we can't be like, hey, look, they're confirmed, they're dating. Like, you know, he loved her.
There's no actual resolution. Apparently the manga series is still ongoing. I saw that.
Really?
Apparently.
Oh, fuck. Okay, maybe they do. Maybe they surprise us with more seasons where she's like going to like Tokyo U and staying there, and you know,
like, this is just what I was thumbing through the comments on Crunchyroll, and that was one of the comments that the series is ongoing. So
okay, maybe well, I'm interested. You know, I would watch more of it if it came out. But yeah, it was like a rather, I would just say it was a lackluster finale, especially if it was like a series finale, just because like we don't really get an answer as to like obviously we as the audience can tell they're in love, but we don't get an answer if it actually works out for them, if they actually end up doing it, or if she just lives there. You know, again, because that's what she wanted to do. Like, it was just kind of nothing crazy really happened. There was no big comeuppance for the mom. There was no like huge, you know, revelations with any of the characters. Like a lot of the feelings that we see on display in this episode, we've already seen multiple times. Yeah, it's really just the characters learning some of it for themselves. But it was still an entertaining episode. It just wasn't crazy. Like, you know, nothing. No one got like beheaded or anything like that. Like nothing. It wasn't like the Tokyo Revengers episode where people are getting murdered and you're like finding out.
I mean, I think
friend betrayals and.
I mean, I feel like that'd be a little bit more of a tone shift for this.
Yeah, what if the brother just pulled out a samurai sword and killed the mom real quick? Like, what kind of finale would that be? Like, let's think about that for a second.
Again, I think that's a genre switch, but
probably. But it was an entertaining final episode. The show as a whole was definitely good to watch. I actually wouldn't mind if there was more. because then we're getting into now that she'd be like an adult, you know, now that she's like 18, she's an adult. I feel like they can go with more stories.
I mean, yeah. Especially if she's going to college or she's trying to find a job.
She goes to college, you know, but she's living there. He wants her to like go out, live a life, and maybe meet some college guys. But she's like, no, I really like him. But then a college guy does come in, but then he's jealous. Boom! All of a sudden, stuff gets crazy. Gojo and Mishima are still in it, trying to get him. I don't know. There's stories to tell there.
Yeah.
If they wanted to do that, I don't know. I'm sure people would still be a little bit weirded out by the whole like 18 versus like 29 or something year old.
It goes from being just straight creepy to just a little creepy.
Yeah, it's just a little weird, you know? But at least it's not like, you know, illegal or anything anymore.
I mean,
so I don't know. I'd be interested to hear your guys' opinions of the finale if you were a fan of it, if you weren't, if you know if there's going to be more, if you think there's going to be more, if you think, hey, this is it, series finale, it's all done with, no longer need to think about Higehiro anymore. Just let us know down below any of the thoughts you had on it. And, you know, maybe one day we'll talk about more of it if it comes out. I think one day, too, I always want to do like some sort of show, like a special where we like retrospectively look back at like finales or like seasons as a whole, like one season like series, stuff like Decadence, stuff like Vivi, like stuff like that, and like look back
see
on
if
them
we still remember them and see if they're still having an impact.
Yeah, stuff like that. So maybe one day we'll be able to do that with Higehiro. But we probably won't be talking about it next week anymore, guys. So if you're a fan, just let us know down below. It was nice having you here. Hopefully there's something else you guys will find in the next season. Because I think I haven't seen much next season for like good quality slice of lives. A lot of it's isekai.
Yeah, or even the slice of lives that are there are very like ecchi oriented. So
yeah, I hope something like kind of similar sneaks in. I know that when the premise of the show first came out, it seemed like it was gonna be like the new trashy show, but it wasn't very trashy. You know, like it seemed like, oh, like, hey, I'll come live with you, but like, you know, like, hey, let me come live with you, but I'm gonna bang you kind of thing. So you're like, oh yeah, this is gonna be an ecchi show. Like this is the ecchi slice of life I've been waiting for, but it really wasn't.
True.
It was more like emotional and dramatic with like everything that's happened to her, and you're just like, I'm not comfortable with any relationships in this show right now. Like too much is happening. But like, you know, we have other ones where there's like, going to be like a 12-year-old kid going to live in a dormitory of women next season, and it looks ecchi as
12,
fuck.
really?
The kid's young. I don't know. It's definitely like a Shoto thing. But,
okay, I thought it was like a Love Hina thing where he's like 18 or something.
Oh no, he's young.
Okay,
he's like a small child whose house just burned down or something. Like
Jesus.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see next season if there's anything that's kind of similar, just something, you know, like a nice slice of life with a good story. Hopefully there is, because I do enjoy that. And if not, you know, one of the future seasons we'll be back.
Yeah.
Very last up on our list today is To Your Eternity, episode number 12.
Awakening.
Okay. So we're leaving off from last week, the very end of last week. Gugu, Rin having a nice conversation. Rin's finally learning the reason that she was pushed. You know, she was actually saved by Gugu. She's learning the reason why he wears a mask, because he was fucked up while saving her. Right in time for the cliff to break. Yep. Gugu's fallen to his death. He gives Rin a little push to make sure she's not coming with him. And then we learn at the same time from the deity thing, talking to Fushi, being like, hey, yo, knockers be back. That's where we left off last week. That's immediately what we see again when this episode starts. And from there, it ensues quite the episode.
Yeah.
So Gugu is falling, but it's cool because immediately he's grabbing some slimy tentacles that are, you know, from inside the land. And he's like, what the hell is this? And they're trying to also attack him while he's falling until some guys can come over and help him up.
Yeah, I don't even know they were really attacking him. Like one kind of poked him.
Yeah, it like started going into his flesh.
I know,
but yeah, so you know, some guys helped him up, so Gugu's back in play at least. We knew he wasn't going to fall to his death there. We mentioned that last week.
Yeah, that would have just been really anticlimactic.
It was just a literal cliffhanger was what it was, just to get us pumped for the next week. But we knew that wasn't going to be too effective. And then obviously the more important part is Fushi inside this mansion right now. As the knocker comes up, the mansion is just like literally collapsing. Like the whole thing is just like shaking and being destroyed. Yeah. And I'll try to remember the exact order of things, because I feel like sometimes they're fighting in the mansion, then they're fighting outside the mansion, and there's some stuff going on.
I mean, once the fight in the mansion actually breaks out, because he's trying to stop the mansion collapsing on some people.
Yeah, he's trying to stop the mansion from collapsing on people. Gugu comes in after being rescued. Yeah. Fushi's like, hey, like get them out of here, like they're injured, and it's Rin's parents. Yeah. So then we see Gugu dash outside of the smoke while it's collapsing with the parents, and Rin's like, oh, like my parents, oh sweet, kind of thing.
And Gugu's just immediately like, I gotta go back and fight.
Yeah, Gugu's like, I gotta go back in. When he goes back in, I think he's March currently, and then he gets like the form taken. He gets like crushed, like immediately like destroyed.
I don't know if he was March at that point.
I think he was. I think that because he was Oniguma holding up the thing, but I think that he turned into March because they had like a plan to get into it. So they did the whole plan where they climbed on top.
Right, because he was climbing. That's
he kept
why.
asking. Yeah, he apparently March is the climber. I guess that makes sense from what we've seen of her like climbing trees. That's where he first learned about climbing. So like
Yeah, so
March
he's-
is always who he becomes when he wants to climb.
I mean, they have to have a reason for him to turn into the little girl.
I guess. I think the saddest part, of course, that we learned very fast is that as he turns into another form and then turns back into his like young boy person, he loses the age. I was so sad. I was like, I knew it was going to happen. We discussed this when he first was aged, like 2 weeks ago, or whatever it was. And we're like, do you think he goes back? And I'm so sad that he does, because it just like, I don't know. I was always excited to see some of these like characters age kind of thing. And then like,
Yeah, I guess it would cause some issues with the whole being immortal thing.
yeah, I would suppose. But I mean, even like before the 8-body deteriorated too much, I guess, I don't know. He would have like many new forms by that point.
I mean, yeah, but eventually losing the older forms would still suck.
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of suck because when he goes back, he always has like the injuries again too, with like the same outfits on and everything.
Yeah,
so.
I think the only one does he still have the injury as the wolf?
I don't know, because I feel like every time he turns into a wolf, I don't see the injury again.
Yeah, that was my big question, because like when he first turned into the wolf, he eventually healed.
Yeah, but you still think then he would go into the original form when he first turned into the wolf, though.
Yeah.
And whenever he turns into the guy, he's got like the injury on like the leg or whatever it is. And whenever he turns into March, he still has like the arrow blood spot.
Yeah, although I don't know if he's actually still injured in that capacity, or if that's just him like replicating the clothing.
Maybe. I was still very sad though when he turns back into regular like 14-year-old boy kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're climbing on the big Oniguma rock monster because Gugu's flames aren't working because he's covered in rock.
Yeah.
They're climbing on there. He's throwing a bunch of spears to open it up, and as he opens up a spot in the armor, he uses his fire blast, and he's like, "Oh, good!
Yeah.
Like we got it, we did it. Everything's happy. Like we beat this monster. Fantastic for us."
Yeah.
And that's where then a big rock hand comes out, grabs Fushi in March form.
Well, there was something before that.
What?
Like the tentacle came out, stabbed into the wall, and you see like a big lump go through it into the wall.
Oh yeah. Why did I think that they won? They thought they won, did they not?
I think it was that they drove it away.
Okay.
Because that's when Fushi's just like, "Oh, I missed our chance to kill it," and he's like, he's still forced it to retreat, so that's still good.
Yeah, and that's where then a big rock hand comes out, grabs little March, and just squishes to death. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The funny part is all the previous times, whenever he got like one of his forms stolen, it was like getting hit by like some tentacle things, and they like pulled out the form. So this time was just like you're crushed to death, and then we saw the little like spectral flakes fly away.
I think it's implied that they kill the form and then they take it. Mm-hmm. It's just they always kind of censored it a little bit. Like when it took, was it Fushi or? Yeah, the Fushi form, it just kind of like impaled him a bunch, and then he couldn't turn into it.
Yeah, then it's like gone. But this one we just saw him get absolutely crushed to death. So I guess he lost the March form right there, which obviously is going to have a pretty big impact later on in the episode.
Yeah,
because then they go to fight it, and they're having like a fucking hell of a time fighting it, basically.
Yeah.
Until the point where then I'm trying to think of like if there's anything important that happens next. I know that at one point they're fighting it. It looks like Gugu's about to get taken out, and then it's where Reen comes in and gives him the push.
Yeah. After Fushi got crushed, he was about to get slapped, and then Reen saves him.
Reen saves him, gives him the push, and then Fushi comes back, and he goes back into regular Fushi form, and he's fighting him. And then as he's fighting, the building collapses. Yeah. The building collapses on Gugu and Reen, and then the next scene is you see Gugu like above her holding up like the collapsing rubble.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, I'm doing good. Don't worry, we got this. Like someone will come soon. Like we're fine." I'm like, "Oh fuck, Gugu, you ain't fine, bud." I was like, "You're fucked."
The moment I heard that, it's like, "Well, you're fucking dead."
I'm like, "Oh god,
damn it!"
And then as we see Fushi, and we're just gonna call him Fushi form because he like I don't want to call him boy form. It's just like his base Fushi model, Yeah. As we see him fighting the knocker, he's like feeling like this heartbeat, and you see him like his like body's like reacting something like that, and then he realized that it's not his heartbeat, it's Gugu's, and it's like and it's not looking good, and he's literally trying to fight this monster. He's like, I gotta save Gugu, like I gotta fight this thing fast, but he just can't.
Yeah,
he just can't seem to beat it. And we're literally watching this like emotional moment with like Gugu and Reen discussing everything like that. Reen like opening up his mask, and like he's like bleeding, and then she goes in for like the hug kind of thing, or kiss. I don't know.
It was a kiss. Yeah.
Okay, I was like, it was something. It was kind of like vague what was going on in there. Until eventually, Gugu's like, "Hey, like we'll meet on the, like the flower field after kind of thing."
Yeah, I'll go pick you a new flower, and she's like, "I know one place where they grow."
Yeah, and then Gugu dies. Shocker. From Fushi's side, the heartbeat stops, and he kind of panics there, and then of course he immediately turns into Gugu. Thank God it's Jack Gugu though. Because when they show in the opening, when they go through a scroll of forms, it literally goes rock to wolf to boy. Like it like does that until it ends with Gugu. But it goes to child Gugu. And I was like, there's no way he turns into child Gugu. I will be so upset.
I think it's specifically so they didn't spoil the new, like older Gugu.
Maybe, but I mean, I guess like they could have done anything in that opening without you thinking about it because they put like older March in there. Just to like anti-spoil things, I guess. But
I mean, I think you do see Gugu, like Jack Gugu with the mask at some point in the opening. So
either way, it's like, you know, he immediately becomes jacked Gugu, and you're like, ah, fuck, like that. But he uses his jacked Gugu form because he can use like the fire thing, right? And realistically, every single time he resets forms,
he gets it back.
He gets like the alcohol back in his stomach. So I mean, you know, fantastic new form for him. It kind of sucks it came at the cost of Gugu.
Yeah, especially considering in theory, Gugu could have just like decked him and he got the form.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely
it's something to do with living people.
Yeah, I don't know. The people we've seen him become are always things that have already died. Like they mentioned at one point, it's just like things he has a strong emotional connection to. But for some reason, for humans, that only seems to work after they're dead.
Yeah, I don't know if it's. I'm sure it's some sort of metaphor, but
yeah. So with his new power, he's fighting off the rock guy, and he's. I'd love to say he's winning, but he's really
holding his own.
He's really not. Yeah, he's like surviving better, but he gets knocked into the water at one point, and the thing's coming down to destroy him in the water.
Yeah, which I mean, for a land-based rock and wood creature, that seems like a really dumb idea.
I mean, it kind of works out for it. It basically is beating Fushi. Like Fushi's not winning, as we learned. Like it kind of makes sense as to why he doesn't win, because even with the deity last time told him, was like, hey, if you stay here, you're not going to be strong enough. Like you need to go out, you need to become stronger. Yeah. And he's literally about to lose until the deity actually comes in and steps in and like destroys it. Like for the most part.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what happened. Is that the thing literally stepped in, was like fuck, and then it literally fled away. It like jumped in the water, like the core jumped in the water and ran.
Okay.
And then he literally explained to Fushi, he's like, hey, you just lost like your one form, like you don't have that anymore.
I think he lost more than one form.
Well, I mean, we didn't see it as anything else.
We saw Oniguma and it took March.
Oh, true. Yeah, I guess it did become Oniguma Rock Monster.
Yeah.
But yeah, we never saw him like do anything to Oniguma. I guess it's just like an
I think it was
thing.
implied. Yeah.
Okay, well, he's like, oh, you lost like a part of yourself kind of thing. He's like, you have to chase after it now. I think he said like go east to get it. And then Fushi again just like kind of walked away again.
Yeah.
But I think like this time it's not like walking away on the guy being like, hey, I'm not doing this. This time it's more like he needs to set some things in order first.
Yeah.
At the same time, we're seeing like people go in. They're like, hey, look, we found some over here. They dig up like Reen and Gugu. Reen's still alive, you know, good for her. She made it through, but she's like completely knocked out. And then we see like, you know, Gugu's brother come and find out that Gugu's dead.
Yeah, we see Fushi crying over him. And
yeah, you know, very, very upset, all this kind of moment. He like puts his brother on his back, even though he's much bigger, much heavier than him. He's like walking away. And then a lot of the scenes after that are just very emotional. We see like Gugu have like a, you know, before he's moved on, he's like, because I think it's very similar to March in a sense where he's actually going to be staying with Fushi. We haven't really seen anything like that since like March. You did the hand, like, you know, like moved the hand of like Fushi, the one time. But I feel like there's something that's going to happen eventually that's going to have more importance with it.
You're going to have that very standard moment where they're all behind him, pushing him forward type moment. So
yeah, but a lot of it's just like wrap up at this point. You know, he's telling the you know, the old man, the booze lady, and the old woman that he has to leave. Yeah, he's like, oh, I got to go, and then Reen wakes up and she's like, oh, I got to go like see what happened, like, you know. And she runs to the place, and then as soon as like Reen's coming in, Fushi's like, oh fuck. He's like, what do I do?
Yeah, I can't let her see me in this form.
That was the worst choice though. You should have turned into the dog.
I mean, yeah, that would have made sense, but I think he panicked and
yeah, he did panic because he's like, I can't let her see me in this form, because he was back to the young Fushi.
Does he still have the wolf?
We never saw the wolf really do anything. We saw it like hop for a couple seconds, but I have no idea.
I'm kind of curious if he lost the wolf as well.
It's possible he lost like everything except for rock form. Why didn't he turn into a rock?
Because then there would have just been a rock on the floor.
She would have walked in like, oh, Fushi, he must have just left. Let me go find him somewhere else. Jesus. Either way, he can't let her see her in the young boy form because then she'll be like, hey, how did you de-age? Like, I'm a little sus at this.
I mean, the other ones already know. He could very easily just say, like, hey, yeah, I'm kind of immortal. And
yeah, like, why did they never explain this to Reen? They explained it to pretty much everyone else he ever met really quickly, and they're all like, okay.
Well, I mean, not really, because the last time he explained it to a lot of people, he ended up being tortured.
Yeah, but I mean, he would have known that wasn't going to happen with Reen. Like, these were people specifically. Like,
I
after,
know.
like, I don't know.
Maybe it's just kind of awkward. It's like, hey, I know we've known each other for 6 months, but by the way, I'm immortal.
Yeah, so he immediately turns and she walks in and she immediately sees, you know, him in Gugu form. So great. Now she's like, oh, thank God you did survive kind of thing. Like, oh, yay.
Oh, man.
And she's like, oh, like, do you want to go picking flowers? And I was like, oh, I can't. I got to go shopping. So like, yeah. So it kind of, it feels bad. Luckily at the end, you get a little bit of clarifying. It feels bad because you're like, okay, like, great. Reen now thinks that like he didn't die saving her. He now thinks that he's just going to go bail on her and like never come back. And I'm like, oh, that's not how we want this to end.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like Gugu would be pretty freaking pissed about this ending.
I'm like, that's not how we want this to end at all. I was like, that's kind of sad. But instead, what we do at least see is like later after he leaves, Reen like is basically fully acknowledging, like while like, talking to herself, kind of thing, that Gugu is dead, but you know that Fushi's still there, and she's like, oh, and I think he's gonna be with him, kind of thing. Yeah. Like Gugu's going with Fushi. I don't know how she knows this shit, but
I think because she was with Gugu when he died.
Yeah, but she's like, oh, you know what? That must be Fushi. He must be an immortal being that has changed into Gugu. It's the only thing that makes sense.
I mean, I feel like because she walked away with the old, like the booze man and the older woman, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe they said, listen, we have to kind of explain something.
I guess. The other nice things we see is Shin, Gugu's brother, he's like working on fixing up the mansion with his new like construction job kind of thing. And
yeah, he's actually wearing Gugu's outfit.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of touching. He's like, oh, I got to bring this food to with my little brother. Like, and they're like, oh, your brother needs that much food. He's like, oh yeah, he's like bigger than me, and he brings it to like the gravesite, and nice touching end for Gugu. Still kind of sad that he died, but we all knew it had to happen.
I mean, yeah, I still poured a shot for him. I couldn't help it.
Yeah, it was a sad episode, but like, Fushi acquired a new form at least. He's off now to like the east. He needs to go find this to get his other forms back. Not to mention like these are like his eternal enemy, so he's got to get better.
Yeah.
Did you watch the next time?
Yeah. So we're finally getting the last group from the opening, I think.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of kids.
Yeah, but it looks like a young adventuring party or something.
It also seems like he meets back up with the old woman again.
I think the old woman goes with him.
Like she's like, I feel like she's just like, hey, listen, like she's like the only character he meets that doesn't die. She's like, I'm gonna keep testing this out. I'm gonna keep going with you. Like she's going to die eventually.
Oh, she is almost certainly gonna die in this arc.
But because she's old, we don't care so much because like even she knows like she'll probably die soon anyways.
Yeah, I think this might just be one of those things. It's like I want to see how far I can push my luck. And
I feel like she just also has like an emotional attachment to Fushi at this point. You know, like she like taught him language and all that kind of stuff.
She basically raised him.
Yeah, so it seems like they meet back up. Maybe towards like they have to take like a boat to travel east, so he meets up with a bunch of kids by the looks of it, and that's where like whatever the next arc is going to ensue.
Yeah, which from what I've seen in the opening about these kids, I don't think it's going to be a very happy arc.
Are any of them very happy arcs?
I mean, March just was kind of happy until she died.
It ended with a child being murdered. It ended with a child who her only dream is to grow up being killed.
Yeah, that's why it was until she died.
Yeah, that's not happy at all, though.
I mean, Gugu got to tell the truth.
The thing, okay, so how long was the Gugu arc? Do you think?
3-4 episodes.
I feel like it was longer than that. We're 12 episodes in.
Yeah, but there was also a couple interlude episodes.
I guess, but I'm guessing that like the March stuff was done by episode 6, and now it's 12. So I feel like it was probably like 6 episodes. If you consider all of it all together.
We would have had 1 or 2 episodes that were dedicated to like the old woman and him traveling.
No, we only had 1. Because at the end of the episode, he immediately got to the booze man and we met Gugu.
True.
I don't know. We'll have to look it up because there's 8 episodes left of the show or this season. Don't know if there's other seasons. There's 8 episodes left. Like, do you think that whole 8 episodes is going to be this arc?
Probably this arc and then like a small resolution arc.
Probably. Either way, like the show's been really, really good so far. Like I find that each, like as the show goes on, it gets better and better. The Gugu arc, originally I was like, oh, like we can't spend too much time with this character. But then we could spend more time with this character and I wouldn't have cared. Yeah. Like just with like the time skip and stuff like that. Like I really hope we get more time skips in the future. Yeah. Because, it's nice to see like Fushi grow. Like now he's like an actual character. Like, fully knows how to talk, fully knows how to cook, understands things. Like he's just grown so much.
He's a functional person. Like I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we get to see him like grow up as March.
Yeah, I mean he doesn't have March now though, so we have to first.
I'm assuming he's going to get March back.
Oh my god, what if we get even more Jack Gugu? What if he stays in Gugu form and he?
Oh my god.
Do you think he's going to swap back to boy form right now? Like he walked away as Gugu obviously because he had to with Reen there. But do you think he's going to stay in Gugu or do you think he's going to go back to like Fushi? I
mean, based on the next time, I'm going to say he goes back to boy form.
I think that's obviously his default model, his base model.
Yeah, I also don't know if he's going to be comfortable staying as Gugu just due to the emotional pain of having lost him.
I feel like Gugu's going to be really useful in fights. Like I feel like he's going to turn into Gugu when he needs, especially since most of what he's fighting is like technically a plant-based thing, even though as we've seen it evolve, it
learned that, hey, fire sucks. I'm going to cover myself with rock.
Well, I also think before that too, you can see the difference between the plant and what was underneath it. I think it's actually developing. Like I think it has like a fleshy
True, yeah.
but it's covering its own soft fleshy like, exterior with rocks to make it safer. But I think as it's going to grow, it's going to develop more things. Like it might get like bone and flesh at some point.
True. It might even be a difference just between the different types of knocker.
I think it's like implied that they're all like one. Like I don't know if
True.
it's a hive mind situation or if it's just like it's like one
Group evolution.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe.
That's probably something we'll find out more as the season goes on. But yeah, it's a very entertaining episode. Very sad for Gugu. If you're a big Gugu fan, how could you not be? Sad ending for Reen. At least she made it alive.
Yeah.
I'm saying one day we see the Reen gets married to Shin. I'm calling it right now.
I still think it's a little twisted.
I mean, I think it is in a sense, but I feel like it's not going to be from like a hey, I'm going to marry this guy because he kind of reminds me of Gugu. I think it's going to be like she doesn't even. I don't even know if she knows that's his brother or no. She would at this point.
Yeah, because he kind of introduced himself as his.
But
brother.
I feel like with him there, like working on the mansion, like obviously we saw the sad part where she goes to her father and she's like, hey, like I'm
not getting married.
I'm not getting married. I'm in love. And this is where we're kind of sad because we're like, oh, like fuck, he's never coming back. And he's like, oh, he's like, okay. He's like, well, where is he? Like, let's find him. Let me talk to him, kind of thing. And she's like, oh, like he's gone. Like he's gone now. He's like, but like, it's one of those things where obviously she's like, what, like 16, maybe 18. At that point, like you're never gonna be like when you have someone you love and they die, you're not gonna be like, yeah, like I'm in love, he's dead, but like I'll get over it one day. I'll be able to move on even if I never forget. You're gonna be like,
you don't see
my
that
life's
future.
over. You're like, I will never love again. But one day, maybe Shin. We see
Why Shin?
I don't know. He seems like he's changed. Seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, I also don't think he's going to be like, oh, you were in love with my brother. Okay, yeah.
I don't. He doesn't know that, and I think
I feel like that conversation would come up at some point when he visits his brother's grave.
Well, a lot of it's he's just also like he's working on the mansion, like he's fixing like her home. She might have more interactions with him as she fixes the home over the next couple of years. Like you never know. I feel like it can just work out. We don't know enough about like we haven't actually seen them really interact, but it's possible. She's got to move on one day.
I don't know why this is your pick.
It's like, what do you mean? What other characters am I going to pick? Random guy who was at the party? If I need to have Reen be happy eventually, Shin seems like he's changed to become a good guy. And it's not like, hey, my brother used to date this chick. Now I'm going to go bang her. The brother, they never even had.
I'm not saying, but even just the fact that is going to come up at some point would just make it a weird relationship.
I think at one point we're going to see whether it's either just like we're not actually seeing it through Fushi, but I think at some point they're going to show us some of the characters again.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Like, show us what fucking what her name is doing from the first arc. Now that she's like 5 or 6 or whatever, how many time skips over, like when she's older. Just like seeing how some of these characters are doing, like Reen when she's slightly older, like these next characters, if any of them survive when they're older. Like, I feel like we're just gonna get, since he's traveling around, whenever you travel things, I always want there to be an episode where we show some of the places they've been. It was one of my big asks in like Wandering Witch that we didn't see. Maybe one day. But I don't know. I just hope they do. If I had to pick someone, if I was like, hey, I need Reen to be happy, and I'm not just gonna pick random guy I've never seen. I'm gonna pick that, maybe her and Shin. Maybe they work out.
So you're picking him just based on the virtue he's the only named character
He's
left.
the only named one there, unless she's going to start dating Booze Man. And I think that he's come over a new leaf. He's changed. And I think that, he's a good looking guy. I think that, with the interaction possibility of her.
Do you want to date him?
Yeah. I think the possibility of like him working on the mansion, they're going to have some sort of interactions, even like meeting and talking to each other.
She's
like
just
at
automatically going to want to bang the handyman is what you're saying?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying it's a possibility. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, that's it for To Your Eternity. We have 20 episodes in this season. Excited to see where it goes. This next arc, I'm sure, is going to be just as good and just as devastating at the end as ever.
I mean, yeah.
But we'll find out when we get there. So if you're a fan of To Your Eternity, leave us a comment down below about how you're liking season 1 so far. Let us know. Give us a rip at Gugu in chat if you were a big fan of Jack Gugu like I was. And yeah, we'll be back next week talking about it. It'll probably be mixed in with like a bunch of other, short segments of anime if we're starting like the new season. But we'll make sure we keep like the same amount of time to talk about it since it's an ongoing one. So yeah, just keep an eye out for next week. And I think that's everything we have today.
Yeah, that was everything.
I'm pretty sure historically, other than like a special, this is our shortest episode ever.
Yeah, pretty much. Maybe one of the early episodes.
Maybe. I mean, I don't think we shortened any of the spots we're talking about. Like, I think we took a decent amount of time for like To Your Eternity and Tokyo Revengers and stuff like that, which is what's important. It's just that we have 3 less anime to talk about than normal.
I mean, yeah.
The episode probably would have been just as long as normal if we just had the finale of Kumodesu.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, but hopefully one day we'll get that. It'll come. Hopefully we get some news maybe on this video of people in the comments or something coming up soon on Reddit about that. And yeah, I think other than that, guys, we'll be back next week. If you guys have watched this far, of course, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you look down below and read the pinned question of the week and respond to it. We'll read those out next week. I don't know what it is going to be yet. I decide that when it's posted. And if you have anyone you want to share this around to, any subreddits, any discords, anything like that, of course, do it. We're still trying to hit that 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Hopefully we can get to that. I mean, if not, we're going to keep making videos one way or the other until we do get there. It's just like a little self-goal for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think other than that, guys, we'll be seeing you next week. Make sure to keep an eye out for next week's episode since we're going to have all those new series. Leave a comment down below about what series you want us to talk about, as always. You got any final words?
No, I think you've touched base on everything.
Okay, that's it, guys. We'll see you next week for episode number 43. As always, I've been Cam.
And I've been Jimmy.
Take it easy, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Peace.